10 to 11. It's time for Wolo, friends, on Sports 56. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Wolo. Look up on the wall. There on the wall. Under the wall. Behind the door. There's a crack in the mirror. Somewhere there's a hole in the way. I tell you they not the way.
And a welcome in. Nice to have you aboard on this terrific Wednesday. Grizz win, and they're back in the playoffs, not the play-in, as a 6 seed after they knock off Charlotte 124-100. They're actually tied for fourth. Lakers lost last night. They're all a game now away from third. It's going to be crazy down the stretch. Unfortunately, they lost Jalen Wells last night to a nasty fall, actually a push while he was hanging on the rim, and he came down, and they immobilized him. They took him out on a stretcher. It was a very scary moment there. I thought really bad. Fortunately, it turns out to be just a broken wrist. So there's not going to be any permanent damage to him, but it is permanently damaging for the Grizzlies' playoffs chances because the guy who started 73 games, averaged 10 points, took on the best wing player defensively, a guy who was in the conversation, I think, for Rookie of the Year, wouldn't win, but would be in the conversation, is out for the playoffs. So that is damaging. Ja's got a new celebration now. I'm not sure what it is. Somebody, I didn't get this, but I read somewhere they said it's more like a grenade now, pulling the thing on a grenade. Whatever. It's supposed to be joy. At least not shooting the gun. At least he was respectful of the commissioner's wishes. This Zach Edey's really emerging. He had 19 rebounds last night to go with 17 points in the last 4 games since Izala took over. He's had 13 or more rebounds. He's been a factor for sure. And they end the road trip 3-0. Last thing, then we've got a big announcement. The big cheese, the head honcho of the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, Steve Earhart's going to tell us who the Distinguished Citizen Award is going to. I think we could say, have you ever in your life seen a guy like this? Earhart will tell us who it is in just a minute. Last thing, Tigers make the final AP Top 25 in hoops. So I ask you this. How many teams, how many programs in college sports are in the top 25 in both football and basketball at the end of 2025? Maybe Joe Dank's got the answer. He's going to join us midway through. Dennis Philippi is standing by. We've got our first Masters picks for this season. The first golf picks from Augusta. That's how we do it every year. And so we look forward to that for sure. In the meantime, let's head cross down to the AutoZone Liberty Bowl offices. Steve Earhart standing by. The Distinguished Citizen Award is always a nice announcement because you know you're going to get to see that person come and they'll speak. And that will be in August this year. So that's going to be cool. So, Mr. Earhart, tell me, please, who's the Distinguished Citizen Award winner this year?
Well, we're really, really excited to have one of an individual who's absolutely reached the pinnacle of his profession and lived a life in the spirit and theme of Danny Thomas and St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, a guy from your profession who's absolutely reached the pinnacle, and everybody knows that voice, the golden throat, Vern Lundquist. So we all grew up listening to Vern Lundquist. He was the voice of the Olympics there. Those old heads remember when he was doing the Nancy Kerrigan, the ice skating there at the Olympics. He was for 40 years, the voice of the Masters. Speaking of the Masters, that's why it's great announcing him today as the beginning of the Masters. The voice, he's got all those great calls there. He was the voice of the SEC for so many years, the championship game, the CBS SEC. One of his great calls is, remember when Auburn ran the 102-yard kickoff? That's Vern Lundquist's voice there. He's basically won every award in the country, from the Emmy Awards for Lifetime Achievement, the Sportscasters Hall of Fame, and what I really love about him, too, which is going to make some people laugh, is remember the Happy Gilmore movie? That's Vern Lundquist calling this movie there, and
he's going to be in the sequel. They got the second one coming out in July, I believe, and Lundquist is in that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, David. He was talking about all the great golfers that are going to be in that movie. It actually comes out July 25th, exactly 1 month, because we'll be presenting the award to Vern on this year. It's at August 24th at the Hilton, the dinner we have the night before our golf tournament. So he'll be there speaking and sharing. He's got so many great stories, and what a kind man. I know you know this gentleman. I mean, you've interacted with him in golf and have stayed in touch with him because his career in sports broadcasting is unparalleled.
Well, I got to know Vern when I worked for KRLD in Dallas. He had worked for KRLD as the voice of the Dallas Cowboys. He preceded Frank Gleber, who preceded Brad Sham, who's still doing the Dallas Cowboys. Vern, you also forgot, Vern had one of the most famous NCAA calls when Duke beat Kentucky on the long pass to Christian Laettner.
Pass to Christian Laettner.
Yeah, he had that call. There's so many great moments that Vern Lundquist has called. I was teasing when I said, in your life, have you ever? That was the call on 16 when Tiger Woods won one of his at Augusta. He, by the way, in '86, when Jack Nicklaus was 46 and won the Masters, he's the one that said, yes, sir. So he's had so many incredible calls. I can't wait to see him. I'm so glad that you're bringing him in. Again, when is that? That is August 24th. How do people get tickets for that?
Right, yes, certainly. Give us a call at the AutoZone Liberty Bowl office, 795-7700, or go to our website, libertybowl.org, or, go. We've announced it today. It'll be out on all the media outlets, but give us a call, 901-795-7700, and get a table, get your picture taken with Vern Lundquist. But more than anything, he's a wonderfully kind and nice man. The last few weeks I've been in touch with him phone. I've met him years ago, back when he was a young guy, as he said, and we have some photographs of him, some great photographs. He said, I really like the one when I still had hair and I was skinny, but when he was doing it, but he's got some amazing stories. And so on August 24th, that Sunday evening at the Hilton, I'll be able to share these great stories with him, and then the golf tournament is the next day at Southwind. And the reason it's towards the end of August, remember, Southwind has been closed now for renovations, and it'll just open up for the FedEx St. Jude there the second week in August, and then all the golfers will be able to play on the same course that the top players in the world just played a couple weeks before. Right. So August 24th, 25.
So literally, you're going to get to play a golf course that only the pros had played, and then there's about a week the members would get to play it, and you'll be right in there, and you'll get to see whatever new. I think they're redoing all the greens. So you're going to get perfect conditions, that's for sure. Steve Eric, congratulations on getting one of the greats. That is Vern Lundquist. Can't wait for him to come. That's August 24th, and the tournament's on the 25th, the day after, and, of course, the proceeds go to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, David.
That is Steve Earhart, the big cheese, the head honcho of the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. We sit in the Family Leisure Studios, and a reminder, it's pool time. They're already booking the installs for 2025, so if you buy now, you get priority on the installation list, and I'm telling you, 24-foot pools start at $19.99, liners at $299. I got to let you know, if you just mentioned that you heard this on Sports 56, you'll get free installation no matter what at any point. So keep us in mind when you go see the folks at Family Leisure. All of a sudden, time has changed.
It's time for Dennis on Dave. Dennis on Dave. Dennis on Dave.
Welcome to Dennis on Dave.
Good morning, Mr. Philippi. What have you got for me today?
Glad to be here. I want to get to this one right out of the gate. Damian Williams is going to prison for 12 years. for conning Dwight Howard and Chandler Parsons out of $8 million.
I think it's only $1 million for Parsons.
Well,
it should have been evened out more. He deserves to lose the money.
That's the thing. When you consider what Chandler Parsons conned the Grizzlies out
I know,
of,
exactly.
because he hit an injury, didn't take a physical, signed his contract, and stole money from the Grizzlies. I don't feel badly for him. I also don't like Dwight Howard. He was always a crappy teammate. Damian Williams, he's probably not going into big boy jail. He's a middle-aged white banker from Atlanta. So he's
glamour slammer for him?
I think he's probably more of a dormitory kind of situation for him.
You know, I don't understand how you could be so dumb to fall for that.
They thought they were buying a WNBA team.
Right. And you know what? You know, that's kind of weird, too, because it ended up being a politician who bought the Atlanta Dream, and then she got PO'd about just really racial issues and civil rights, and the team goes, we don't want to play for you. And the league forced her to sell. That is interesting. Chandler Parsons, I'll never understand that, because I know for a fact from people on the inside who used to be the orthopedic group for the Grizzlies, they said this guy's damaged goods. So there was info.
Oh, it's on the Grizzlies.
That this guy was not 100%. And yet the Grizzlies took the gamble, and the guy got all that money and really never played. Although he actually played more games than Marcus Smart did.
The Nuggets fired their head coach, Michael Malone. So
figure that out.
They're entering their post-Malone era.
Ooh.
There with the Nuggets. And normally you would blame the GM, but the GM also got fired or is not going to be retained.
Yeah.
They were going to get rid of him anyway. This is firing this guy with 3 games left to go in the season. Well, it turns out that the owner, who is also known as the governor of the Nuggets, I've never heard that phrase before.
Maybe he sits on the NBA board of governors.
I don't know what it is, but
that's probably
he wanted to fire Malone. What he didn't want is for Malone to get to the postseason and win any games. Because if he did, then he couldn't fire the guy.
Here's what this has to be with the blessing of
absolutely
of Jokic.
I like what somebody else said earlier today. It's not necessarily that Jokic said, I want him gone. It's that Jokic didn't say, I don't want him gone. He didn't stand up for him. Whether or not he actually stabbed him in the back or not,
but it's
we
weird.
don't know.
If you win a championship 2 seasons ago,
2 seasons ago.
I mean, it's 23. Yeah. There's only 1 season in between a title and this year, and they're still in the playoffs. I mean, that is, I don't know. That, to me, is an indictment on the system.
We have 2 teams.
You can be great, and it really doesn't matter if the star player or players don't like you or you rub the owner the wrong way. I'm still just shocked that they fired Taylor Jenkins.
Well, that's the thing. We got 2 teams in the West that are going to the playoffs who just fired their coaches.
I know
it. That's unheard of. I think that's really unprecedented.
And where are those 2 guys going to end up? Because I'm pretty sure Jenkins and Malone are going to end up as head coaches next year.
They're respectively the winningest coaches of their franchises. Well, I don't know. Doug Moe may be in the math there for the Nuggets. Remember Doug Moe? I loved him. No defense. As long as we score 150 points, we're going to be just fine. Alex English, just go out there and score 45 points, and we'll be fine.
Hey, here's what they should do. They should bring back their original coach, Larry Brown. He's still around.
And he's, as he turns out, unemployed. Luka, of course, got tossed last night because a referee thought he was cursing at him when he was actually cursing at a fan with whom he routinely gets into it.
Right.
The tattooed sideline guy.
Yeah.
And that guy copped to it, too. He's like, no, man, he was yelling at me.
No, and the opposition team corroborated that he was not yelling at the ref.
No.
The ref and he have a history going back to last year.
Yeah.
So this ref was just waiting. That was a game, I think the Lakers actually led by 2 when Doncic got tossed, and then they end up losing by, 14 or whatever it was. That clearly affected the game. That is not right. The NBA needs to take a long look at that, because if Doncic was not speaking to him, and this referee affects the game, that is terrible for the league.
Well, every referee in the NBA has a problem with him. because Luka mouths off to every referee. Last week, you remember this, he actually, in the middle of a game, asked the referee if it was okay for him to call bullcrap. That's not the word he used.
Yeah.
After a call. He literally just asked the ref, is it okay if I say this? No, it's not. That's why they keep giving you technicals, you big dummy.
That's like a story Jim Valvano once said. He goes, if I say that call just reminded me of horse poop, can you toss me? And he said, no, I wouldn't toss you for that. Well, and he got tossed.
Luka returns to Dallas tonight for the first time since what is going to go down as the worst trade in NBA history. He's going into Dallas.
Well, it depends on what AD does. Come on.
AD's not going to do anything. AD is done, and Luka's still in his prime. There are going to be more people cheering tonight in Dallas for Luka than there are cheering for the Mavs. They love him. They don't blame him for the trade. He didn't ask for it.
Yeah.
He didn't want to go. He felt he was going to finish out his career right there in.
Well, it cost him a
Dallas.
supermax. I would have wanted to stay too.
Let's see. Ja, like you said, his new thing is miming throwing a hand grenade and then covering his ears. So he got fined $75,000 for the handguns thing. Escalated to throwing a hand. Well, what's next? Is he going to mime shooting a grenade launcher? Is he going to mime shooting a machine gun?
He's not going to do a shooting thing because that's what got him in trouble. And I'll be honest with you.
Okay, so he'll act like he's blowing up TNT.
He can do that.
Like Wile E. Coyote.
Here's the point. The point was the commissioner said don't do it with the gun thing. And he literally just rubbed it in his face. That's why he got fined $75,000. At least he's changed. And you know what? The commissioner's not going to do anything this time because he's already gotten enough negative feedback because a lot of players do the shooting thing. And, you're going to hear.
Yeah, but a lot of players don't actually wave around real guns. That's why it's a problem for him to do that.
But he hasn't done that in 2 years either.
I don't understand it, but it doesn't matter. He did it. That's all that matters. Ovechkin did break Gretzky's record. I don't know if you saw this. Ovechkin, very cozy with Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin loves Ovechkin, called him personally to congratulate him. At one point, this is so crazy, Ovechkin campaigned for Vladimir Putin. That's like campaigning for the Globetrotters over the Washington Generals. I mean, it was a given that he was going to win, and yet he still campaigned for Vladimir Putin. And not to be political,
probably
but
gave him rubles.
This is something that's going to be oddly impactful. I don't want to get into politics about this, but with Trump's new rules, players that go to Canada to play in Toronto, basketball or baseball, if they're from Cuba or Venezuela, are going to have trouble getting back into the United States. That's just the way that Trump has made the rules now. That's just something to keep your eye on. I don't know why on earth we had to have the season-ending college basketball poll. I mean, we knew it was going to be number one because they won the national championship. And I'm sure you guys saw some clown climbed up on a street light celebrating the win for Florida and then promptly fell off of it. Luckily,
that's not the first time we've seen that.
No. And luckily, he had plenty of alcohol in his system, and he bounced right back up. But the guy fell like 20 feet.
What city did this? They actually greased Philadelphia. They greased the light pole so you couldn't do it.
They did it in Florida, too.
Crazy.
That's just what they do now. Of course, the Masters, we got the three-par this afternoon.
Yeah.
The three-par in the Masters. I think it's a lot of fun to watch. No one who has won the three-par has ever won the Masters.
I know that. It's a jinx.
Will Zalatoris is everybody's favorite dark horse in the Masters.
People have forgotten about him. You know who I didn't see in any power thing either for this is Ludwig Oberg, which shocked me.
I like Oberg.
Yeah.
John Rahm is a dark horse as well, but he's a live golfer, so he can get bent. And everybody wants Rory to win. Rory has not won a major in 11 years.
Rory has so much mental baggage with the Masters. I don't see him winning, but I'm hoping that Mickey Barker or Johnny Lyon take him in the first picks.
Okay, I absolutely want to get this one in. An Ohio Democrat introduced a bill that would prevent state money from going to losing teams.
What?
I don't know how on earth they could possibly do this because they'd have to have a crystal ball. But the Browns, who 3-14 Browns, want a new stadium. This guy doesn't want them to have a new stadium because they suck. And his whole thing is, we're not going to give state money to teams that suck. That's a problem because a lot of Ohio teams suck. But
so in other words, if let's say the Bengals, who are angling also for a new stadium,
who also suck.
So
because
if they win,
money.
he doesn't mind spending the money,
right?
But if they're under 500, not a penny.
No, they don't get anything. They don't get any state money. Weird. I don't know how they're going to plan that ahead. The NFL draft is being held in Green Bay. Did you see this?
Yes.
Green Bay, and people who don't know anything. Green Bay is a very small town.
Joe spent time there.
Yeah, it's a very small town. They're flushing the sewers in Green Bay because when they have home games, that's the only thing. It's one day. But the NFL draft is 3 days, and there are so many people coming into Green Bay, they're afraid that the sewers are going to get backed up. So they're flushing them out in advance of the NFL draft.
That's crazy.
Because so many people are coming to Green Bay.
On a serious note, I meant to mention this before, but we were running out of time. Octavia Dittel, the relief pitcher in the majors, 15 years, a bunch of different teams. Myself and Brett Norsworthy and another one of our friends, Don DeWeese from Gibson's Donuts, we actually sat in the World Series Game 6 with St. Louis and the Texas Rangers in one of the great games of all time. David Freese hit a home run to win the game. I personally sat right next to Dittel's mother. We were sitting in the family section. So his whole family was there. I was right next to his mother. He came in and played a role in that game. And it is just so sad at the age of 51, 15 years, enjoying retirement, goes to a concert, and that they still don't know that I've seen why that roof collapsed in the Dominican Republic, but it's killed over 50 people.
Oh, it's a horrible tragedy.
It's really amazing. And, with our technology today, the governor, who is Cruz's, another baseball player, Nelson Cruz's sister, she's a governor of a province in the Dominican, was calling the president to let him know what was happening while she was under the rubble. They got to her, but she did not make it. It's just a crazy, crazy scene. Dennis, as always, we appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah.
Dennis on Dave is brought to you by Dinstall's. That's a sweetheart of a deal. And I know it's all over, the Final Four's over, but there's Grizzlies, there's playoffs. There's so many reasons why you might want to hold a party and be the hero of your party because you brought Cashew Crunch or Turtlettes or their world-famous fudge. It's so easy because there's 5 locations of Dinstall's. You got the burbs. You got both Collierville and Germantown. They got stores there. Downtown, they got this quaint little cool store. My neck of the woods, Laurelwood, they've got a beautiful, beautiful Dinstall's there. And then, of course, where they make it, the big one, that's on Pleasant View. Easy to get to. I promise you, if you bring to any party that you go to any kind of Dinstall's, the people will love you. That's Dinstall's. That's been around for about 110 years now. We take the break. When we come back, the business of sports is front and center. Joe Dank, former GM of 24 and 30 and executive producer and director of TV sports. He comes your way in just a minute.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Rick's Powder Coating for a beautiful finish every time. Rick's Powder Coating specializes in automotive, ornamental, residential, and industrial coating. With 2 conveyor lines and the largest batch ovens in the Mid-South, Rick's can accommodate all of your powder coating needs. Locally owned and operated since 2002, Rick's Powder Coating will customize a beautiful finish just for you. Drop by or call to see how Rick's Powder Coating can bring color to your life. 901-367-2771 or rickspowdercoating.com.
I don't think I'm a bad golfer. I know I'm a bad golfer. This is Sheldon Rosengarten with Mark's Men's Store Realtors. And sometimes bad is not quite the right word. Awful, that's more like it. And when it comes to selling houses, that's a whole different story. Over the many years that I've been in the real estate business, I have refined and perfected my highly successful strategic marketing program. In golf, forget about my normal 5 strokes on a par 3. But remember the home I just closed in November with 2 offers at full list price. Okay, let's review. If you're thinking of selling, you'll want an experienced player on your team to lead you to the closing table. someone whose background is marketing and not merely putting a sign in the yard. And remember what people often say, that when you want the job done, call who? Shell Dunn. You can reach me, Shell Dunn Rosengarten, at MemphisRelocate.com or 483-0546. That's 483-0546 or MemphisRelocate.com. And go Tigers.
Fill your spring with brilliant style at Sissy's Log Cabin. From the latest designer creams to one-of-a-kind pieces to exquisite diamonds, you'll find the jewelry you need for a stylish spring while enjoying the Sissy's promise of unmatched quality, service, and selection. Experience Sissy's for yourself when you stop by any of our 6 locations or shop online at Sissy'sLogCabin.com. Create the style of your dreams only at Sissy's Log Cabin, because life's too short for ordinary jewelry. Elwood Shack in the Lowe's parking lot on summer just keeps getting bigger and better. Bigger because now there's a second Elwood Shack at 4040 Park across from the University of Memphis. And better because you can get breakfast every day at both Elwoods. There's the barbecue breakfast burrito, either beef brisket or pork shoulder, and cabinet biscuits made fresh daily, real house-made pancakes, apple and bacon, French toast, and more. And the new Elwoods even has a real coffee bar serving fresh roasted J. Brooks coffee. Elwood Shack, now with 2 locations and open every day for you. Listen each and every Sunday morning at 11 to join Ottawa Presbyterian Church for worship. Ottawa is the CMSA Church in downtown Memphis.
One of my favorite times of the week. Joe Denk comes in, former GM of 24 and 30. We talk the business of sports and the men's and women's Final Four ratings are in. How did we do? Did the women, with Paige Beckers at the heart of all this, and her getting her first, and Gino Amariyama getting his 12th NCAA championship, did that resonate in the same kind of league as Caitlin Clark and Iowa the last 2 years?
Not exactly.
No.
No. Minus 54% to be exact. The women's final on Sunday, 8.6 million viewers.
That's still pretty good.
Real good number. Third best all time. Guess what beat it? Caitlin Clark twice.
Yeah, right.
So last year, Caitlin Clark's title game did 18.9.
Wow.
Now, interestingly, not only did Caitlin Clark do 18.9 and outrate this year's women's Final Four, the last 2 men's Final Fours, including the great game Monday night, did not equal that Caitlin Clark number from 1 year ago.
So the women's championship game from a year ago with Caitlin Clark in it has outrated
the last two men's championship games.
Which is you might not know this, but which is the greatest men's championship game by numbers ever?
It's really easy. Magic Bird.
Magic and Bird in 1980.
35 million viewers.
Wow.
This year's game did 18.1. The game Monday night, Houston, Florida, 18.1. That's plus 22% over last year.
So that's double the women.
Yes, more than double.
Yeah.
More than double. But, that was a terrific game. Now, look, in fairness, too, a little bit to the women, they had 3 blowouts in the Final Four.
They did.
I mean, really tough. I mean, the overall women's Final Four was off 65% from last year. But, again, third best ever. And so the women's game has definitely made a move, but those who thought that what Caitlin Clark was delivering could be duplicated, badly mistaken. We'll never see it again. We will never see 35 million as Magic and Bird delivered. Think about that. We're down 50% over that.
Right. And that's basically because there's so many other options. In those days, if you wanted to watch a sporting event, that was it.
Well, if you wanted to watch TV,
true.
The likelihood is that was the only game in town.
And you think about it, you're talking about at the time Michigan State had a decent name, but it wasn't UCLA, right? It wasn't Kentucky or North Carolina. Michigan State against Indiana State, that is all Bird and Magic.
That's
It's
all.
personality that ended up delivering that kind of number. That's incredible when you think about it.
Look, David, you might actually have people that would go, that was the Magic Bird game. And if you said, what were the name of the two teams that played, some people might not get Indiana State.
I would, because I watched them. I was at SIU.
You and I do that. I mean, I know that. I'm saying everybody knows Magic Bird.
Right.
The Indiana State Sycamores have not been relevant since that day.
No, they really have not.
They can't be.
Yeah.
So, look, the men's Final Four three-game average, that was $16.4 million. The Saturday games were terrific, and it was plus 21% over last year, and that was the best since 2017. So there's an up story on the men's side. It makes sense because those turned out to be three terrific basketball games.
Yeah, there were 3 gay games, and unfortunately for the women, there were 3 blowouts. You did have some names, though, in particular, Paige Beckers. And I don't know. You think a coach draws it all? Because you had Ariema, 12th title, and you had 3 out of the last 4 coming from South Carolina.
Okay, I think a couple of things. We always talk about the environment. These are now on ABC on a Sunday afternoon. It's a relatively slow Sunday afternoon, so there's not a lot of competitive issues there.
Right.
So, there is no dispute that women's sports on television has grown in some popularity. It will never be what it was with that lightning in a bottle situation with Caitlin. We knew that at the time, I think, or some of us thought that.
Yeah.
But so that is a positive, and the ABC delivery counts.
Speaking of which, since it was that Sunday, I don't know what Brian Harmon winning the Texas Open produced, but I know that the Doral at Trump in Miami, that with its debut on Fox, with literally, if we look at majors, bigger names than were in the Houston Open or the Texas Open, they didn't draw 500,000. They didn't get $500,000 for that live event. I don't know what the Texas Open produced, but I know that the live didn't produce 500,000, and we know last year they were only getting 300,000.
I know you well enough to anticipate this coming up here today.
Did.
So, yeah, Liv did 484,000 on Fox.
Yeah.
The tour event on NBC did 1.75 million, so more than 3 to 1.
3 to 1 with no
with
big
a bad
names,
leaderboard.
with Brian Harmon.
With a bad leaderboard.
Yeah.
So the tour did well. Liv did not.
Liv has lost $1.5 billion in 3 years. Just how much longer can they? Well, I guess they can do it forever if they want to. All right. I know you were listening on Monday when I gave medals. I gave a rust to WREG and the decision by either the news director, the weatherman in charge, to basically double box the weather coverage because of the rain and the flooding issues and a possible tornado. 75 miles away in New Albany, where, as they said, less than 5% of their television audience, I didn't even realize they got into New Albany, to be honest with you, where less than 5% of their audience was there, and maybe it was a tornado, and a meteorologist who basically said, too bad, we're doing it, and incessantly kept saying that. To me, what I would have done was double box it, but at least do the voice of the game and run a crawl, and if you want in commercials, which they were doing anyway, go full and give the update. You didn't have to keep the doggone incessant defending and possible to 5% of your audience an hour and 15 minutes away. To me, that was just ridiculous.
Yeah, it was an extraordinarily challenging situation for the station, and I would suggest that went beyond even the news director to the general manager to make that decision.
So you were a GM. What would you have done in that situation?
Well, look, I mean, first of all, the general operating guideline that we always used and that I always implemented at the stations that I was running at the time was a tornado warning, which is what we had. There was a tornado warning issued by the National Weather Service. A tornado warning inside the DMA says interrupt immediately without regard to what is on and do sustaining till the tornado warning is over. That is your guideline. So they followed that guideline. Now, there can be some flexibility in terms of extenuating circumstances. I think there were 2 or 3 situations that made this a little bit different. Number one was, even though there was a tornado warning, there was never confirmation that there was a sighting or that anything had hit the ground. And they said that over and over and over again.
And they kept saying, well, we got to switch from Millington
Right.
to Columbus because we're too far away. So they're admitting they don't really know.
Well, look, the most frustrating, if not difficult part of all of this was there was that much time to try to justify why we were on, to try to explain why we weren't sure, and to not have definitive information. If you were going to interrupt programming, then it's because you're imparting the information that is so important. And yet there wasn't any information being imparted about the life threat. That's the issue. That's the main issue. So it was, I understand why they did it. I question some of how they did it. Secondarily, that sustaining period of time for a whole, it was the whole game.
Yes.
And that was very, very difficult.
So you haven't answered my question.
What?
If you were the GM in that moment, and you've been a GM in this market,
Yep.
what would you have done?
I would have instructed him to simply say, look, this is an ongoing situation. You know it. We will keep you apprised with graphics on the screen. We are the only source for the basketball game. There are other sources for this weather information. We will keep reminding you as often as we can, but we will show you the game. And, we planned as late as some of my time here when we had NBA playoff games and the Grizzlies playing in the springtime when you have these.
Right.
And we had a plan as to how we would do it. Now, we also had a place we could have sent them because we had 24 with the
30.
ABC. We could have sent them to 30. They could have sent to a digital channel. It was very difficult and frustrating. I will say this. I mean, everybody takes this very, very seriously because this is the one time in your day-to-day operations of a television station when you can impact and save lives. That's important.
Yeah.
And it can't be dismissed that the company was dedicated to it because WREG did not run a commercial from 2 o'clock in the afternoon till sometime after 9 o'clock at night.
And
so
again,
they made a commitment and they stuck with it. How they executed it is the only thing we could question.
I don't have a problem with the double box and running a crawl. And during commercials, which by the way happen every 12 minutes. Break in.
It was a tough one.
To me, that was just a little bit of overkill for sure.
By the way, you could stream the game cleanly on ncaa.com.
I didn't know that.
I watched it, so I heard the sound on that.
You know what? I don't want to. You've done a lot of work on this gambling thing, so we're going to do that.
Okay.
Next week. I will say this, the House settlement that has been delayed for a week. You've done a lot of homework on that too. We'll get into that and the gambling aspect next week. But I do wonder, and I think this is a fair question, will this settlement, because the delay is basically we know what it's going to be, except for now they're talking about grandfathering roster spots and changing all of that. We'll give you the total explanation of that next week. But my question is, do you think from all of this, and it's minus the NIL piece, I think, will we see structure and salary cap when this settlement is done? Because I believe in the long run that helps the University of Memphis. If there is no cap and if there is all this free agency every year, the Power Four will have a major advantage over anybody else.
Well, look, logically speaking and practically speaking, the only way you ever come to a salary cap is as a term and condition of a collective bargaining agreement. Now, the only way you can collectively bargain is to designate what we refer to as student athletes. You'd have to recategorize them as employees.
Right.
Now, there's been great resistance to any attempt at this. It has happened in the Ivy League. It happened at Northwestern, where those schools refused to recognize unions after the players voted to unionize. And that would be the only way you could lead to collective bargaining. And in the absence of that, I see no way to put any kind of a salary cap.
Well, they are capping it at $20.5 million by this settlement, so that, in its sense, in its own right, is a bit of a cap, but it doesn't stop the NIL.
Right. Well, the NIL can continue to come in via the. Well, And that's no different, though, because think of a baseball player or a basketball player in the NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball. You have your contract under the collective bargaining agreement.
And then you have
and then you're
endorsements.
free to go outside and do your endorsement deals. And so that's NIL is just going to continue to be that.
Well, we'll get more specifics
Absolutely.
when the settlement takes place next week. Joe, as always, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. We got to take a break. Joe and the Business of Sports brought to you by Memphis Tourism. You know, when we do those Hall of Fame awards at the end of the year, this beautiful thing that we have done either at AutoZone Park or the Renaissance Convention Center. It's brought to you by the good folks at Memphis Tourism. The building of that new event center, in part, was done thanks to Memphis Tourism and the Memphis Sports Council. They are always working behind the scenes to bring new things to Memphis, new events to Memphis. They are heavily involved as well in the FESJC. They're all over the place. Memphis Tourism and the Memphis Sports Council bring you Joe on a weekly basis. We take a quick time out. When we come back, it's time for golf picks. Mickey Barker, Johnny Lyon will join me. Elijah Seeger is going to be our bookkeeper. We're going to make our Masters picks in just a moment.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows. Stay up to date with station events and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
There's an institution in East Memphis that I love talking about. It's the Spirit Shop at 4848 Poplar Avenue, right down the street from Clark Tower, and it looks like a log cabin. It's been around Memphis since 1969 with a family-owned, friendly, knowledgeable sales staff that is just a wonderful place to go. I love going in and talking wine or bourbons, and they've got such great selection. So if you've not visited the Spirit Shop in a while, it's been remodeled. You'll love what you see when you need spirits. Tell Eddie Wolo said hello.
Wally Hatchet serves breakfast all day and Southern comfort food for lunch. Hatchet fans love our huge omelets, breakfast Sammys, scrambles, and chicken and waffles. For lunch, check out the Mississippi pot roast, chicken fried steak, grilled meatloaf are one of our best-selling burgers, lipstick on a cow. Pickup, delivery, and catering are also available. Visit WallyHatchets.com to order online. Wally Hatchets is located at 6439 Summer Avenue and open from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. Tuesday through Sunday. Wally Hatchets. Count your blessings, not your calories.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director of Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 912-715-5199.
Hi, this is Troy Five-Ash, owner of Five-Ash Roofing. Did you know there are so many roofing companies in Memphis that I don't even know them all? So that begs the question, which one should you choose? So I thought I'd give you a little background about me. My grandfather was a World War II Marine. My father worked for the University of Memphis for nearly 30 years. My mother, a pianist at Raleigh Baptist Church. Seems like forever. I went to Brownsville Road, Craigmont, and Bartlett High School, class of 81. We support the local school systems, youth athletics, and believe in what St. Jude and Le Bonheur stand for. I'm a Tiger and Grizz fan. The point? Memphis is my home. Five-Ash Roofing will be around if you ever have a problem with the service we provide. Five-Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical, with deep local ties in our community. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Five-Ash Roofing is what we do. We're here for you. Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here's the voice of the Tigers, Dave Wolo.
Oh, I'm so happy. Golf is here. The first major of the year. That means our golf picks start. Mickey Barker, Johnny Lyon, all a part of it the last few years. So happy to have both of them back into the fold. I'm going to start with you, Mickey Barker, because I noticed driving down Poplar during all this rain, hole number 7, one of my favorite holes at Overton Park, was underwater. How is the golf course all over the city, all the city courses. How are they after all this terrible weather and this flooding? Good morning.
Good morning, Dave, and happy to be back. My favorite week of the year is here.
Yep.
The golf courses, the golf courses are great. We came through, really blessed to come through without a lot of damage. We had just a few small trees that came down Pine Hill. Obviously, we had water standing on every golf course, and especially at Overton. But the drainage system worked the way they were supposed to, and held the water for a little while and let it move out. And we're up and running. Monday morning, we had a tournament at Galloway, and we're going wide open this week.
Explain this to me. So let's take number 7. Many of you have seen it as you're driving down Poplar before you get to the turn in to go into the park. That's number 7. There's a big ditch that runs, 30, 40 yards in front of the green. And I was told the whole fairway was underwater. All you could see was the flag sticking out of the water. How in the world does that drain and not hurt the fairway?
Well, it doesn't hold it for very long. As soon as it stopped raining, right there, the water started going down. Everything we built there was to get the water into those drainage ditches. There's one in the middle of the fairway. There's one that goes, along Veterans Drive there that goes behind the green. So the drains are designed to get that water in those ditches as quickly as possible. And it did. It stood there for a little while, but as long as it's not going to be for several days, not a problem to the grass.
All right. Johnny Lyon, we welcome you back in. Tell me what your favorite storyline for this year's PGA schedule will be. Good morning.
Wolo, glad to be back. Of course, the Masters is the most exciting time of the year for golfers. Makes me think back. I went 12 years in a row with Will Taylor and Alan Harris, and had a hugely big time. But this is par 3 tournament today. Going to kick it off. But I can't go without saying this is the anniversary of Kerry Middlecoff winning the Masters 70 years ago.
Wow.
1955. Of course, I was lucky enough to interview Dr. Middlecoff 3 times over at Memphis Country Club. And I did meet with him right before he passed. And he said, "Nobody will ever remember me, Johnny." And I said, "Yeah, they will, because there'll never be another dentist to win the Masters."
Well, the thing that you'll remember is not only did he win majors from and being a Memphian and ending up retiring here and all that went with that, but he also was the first golf analyst. People don't realize this, but he was on network TV. He created the role of the analyst as is used in this day and age. He was sitting beside the guy doing the play-by-play, analyzing the way it was, and he was the first guy, so he created that position. That is honestly another reason to remember Dr. Middlecoff. Will Rory finally get his Grand Slam? That's one of the storylines. So, Mickey, before we make picks, Johnny's going to go first. You're second. I'm third this year to start this season. I'm curious, do you think Rory will win this event?
He will win it. Now, whether it's going to be this year or not, I don't know. I think he's probably set up as good as he has ever been to win this year, coming off a win at the Players. And as we see that, Scheffler did it last year. He won the Players and then the Masters. Tiger's won the Players and then won the Masters. So that's a good omen for him. If he can get past the first round is where he typically struggles. He a lot of times gets himself so far behind after round 1 that it's a struggle to get back. The first year that Scheffler won, he shot 64 in the final round with a hole out on 18, but it just wasn't enough to get back there. So I'm probably not going to pick him, but if I had to guess, this may be the year.
Johnny, we have 12 live players in that still have eligibility because of either winning a Masters or winning a major in the last 5 years. Will there be a live player who will win this event?
Definitely could be. heavy favorites, DeChambeau, got to be up there at the top of the list. And, I guess a few people think that Phil Mickelson might have a shot. I don't know. Tiger Woods. There's a lot of people that could sneak in there.
Well, Tiger Woods obviously not going to play because he just had surgery for another Achilles issue. Phil actually played decently in the live event this past weekend. Brandel Chambly absolutely poo-poos DeChambeau for the Masters because he goes, at Augusta, he averages 2 double bogeys or 2 1/4, whatever it was, and you can't win a Masters that way. He just thinks the course does not set up for DeChambeau. Rahm, of course, has won a major there. He's won a green jacket, so he's the guy, I think, most people think from that particular grouping that could win it. It's the last time we'll see playing Bernhard Langer. Guys, I think, and I'll start with you, Mickey, I think Langer's the greatest old-time golfer ever. He's won like 47 events on the senior tour.
He did. He passed Hale Irwin last year with a couple wins, and so he is the greatest senior golfer in Champions Tour history. But yeah, since he turned 50, 17 years ago?
Yeah, something like
that. He's only gotten better. I mean, he's phenomenal. He keeps himself in great shape, and unfortunately, he just can't hit it far enough to continue to compete at the Masters. But be his final year this year.
That is. I think at one point that when people got older, they could still play Augusta because it was 6,800 or 6,900 yards. But since it's now going to 7,700, all these old timers, they have no chance. And that's why they initially put 65 was the limit. They went against that. But most of the time, guys like Langer are now saying, it's silly for me to play. So this is his finale. Okay, Johnny, I know you're not picking Bernhard Langer. We got to make our picks. You've got the first pick. Who will win the Masters?
No doubt about it. Scotty Scheffler.
Okay. So Scheffler is the first pick. Mickey, there's Rory out there for you.
I said I couldn't. I probably wouldn't pick him, but I changed my mind. Rory McIlroy.
Okay. I'm glad you did because I didn't want him. The guy that I wanted this whole time, I'll be honest, is Colin Morikawa. And there was an interesting thing. CBS did this thing, CBS.com. I think it was them, where they whittled down, they took all these categories of what it takes to win a Masters, and they did all these eliminations. Scheffler was like the last one to be eliminated, and the one guy that made it was my pick, Colin Morikawa.
Yeah, good pick.
Especially for
third. On my list, yeah.
All right. So the top 3 picks are out of the way. Now it gets a little bit trickier. Johnny, you're next.
I have to go with Bryson DeChambeau.
Okay. So you go against what Brandel Chambly had to say.
Yeah. A friend of mine was at the Doral, and he met his mother at the bar.
Huh.
And so I thought that was good luck.
Okay. Mickey?
Yeah, that was where I was going with DeChambeau. I think it may be a really good shot at him winning this year. So I'm going to go a little outside the box a little bit. Russell Henley.
I was thinking about Russell Henley. So I am telling you that I am anti-live. I'm not going to pick a live guy, even if it hurts me. So I am going to go with Xander Schauffele.
Okay, good deal. Good pick.
And now, Johnny, your third pick.
Third pick. Not my favorite golfer, but he's pretty hot. Going with Justin Thomas.
Okay, good pick. Mickey, your last pick.
Wow, there's a lot of great golfers still out there.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go John Rahm.
You're going liver. Okay.
I did.
So, You've left a lot of guys out there. Shane Lowry is out there for me. I'm not taking Koepka or Reed. Or Neiman. They're livers. Robert McIntyre is interesting. I love Tommy Fleetwood. Spieth's out there. Corey Connors is out there. Will Zalatoris. Hideki Matsuyama, a former Masters player. Hovland, who won a tournament this year, he's out there. Keegan Bradley, the captain of the Ryder Cup team, he's out there. Akshay Batey is out there. Jason Day is out there. And I'm going to go with a guy who played really well there last year, has not played that great this year. I think the turnaround happens right here at Augusta for Ludwig Åberg.
I knew that was coming. Yeah. You love him.
I do. I love this guy. So, Scotty Scheffler, Bryson DeChambeau, Justin Thomas, those are Johnny's picks. Mickey's got Rory McIlroy, Russell Henley, and John Rahm. I've got Colin Morikawa, Xander Schauffele, Ludwig Åberg. Let the games begin. Can't wait. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll chat again next Wednesday.
Yep. Thank you, Wolo. Look forward to playing golf with you.
Oh, yeah. Me too. Me too.
Bye-bye.
I am back. That is for sure. And golf is back in a big way. And our picks are brought to you by Southern Security. Southern Security, your favorite hometown credit union. They've been number one for the last 6 years. And I'm telling you what, they just keep getting better in my mind. They're building this brand new facility in Collierville. You know, we like to talk about how they've got the best rates, the best service, the newest technology. Wait till you see that bank in Collierville. It's going to be the latest. And if you are not getting the lowest possible rate on your mortgage, I want you to check out Southern Security with the lowest rates, flexible terms, no PMI, and, of course, that unbeatable service. You can refinance your current mortgage with the Mid-South's best mortgage leader. For more info, you can always go online the more modern way at southernsecurity.org, but I prefer the old-fashioned way, to talk to somebody. You can call the office at 901-452-7900. Southern Security is an equal housing lender. They are proud supporters of the U of M and 901 Women. Southern Security, that's your home team credit union, federally insured by NCUA. Thanks to Steve Earhart. Thanks to Dennis Philippi, Joe Dank, Mickey Barker, and to Johnny Lyon. This was fun. Enjoy the Masters. It starts tomorrow. Of course, we'll be here tomorrow with our new Thursday lineup. Looking forward to that. Thank you, Elisha, for you got all this. You got the paperwork done. That's terrific. We'll see everybody tomorrow, but don't go anywhere. Johnny Radio is right around the corner.